Hey folks, we're live here at Circuit World in Blue Ridge. We apologize for the technical difficulty delay. It is not because Lonnie is here. We want to welcome him. It's not fair to Lonnie. I have to let the people know you're here today, and the first thing they're going to think, right, Dr. Tidman? Lonnie broke it. Right. So we want to be clear. Lonnie is not the technical difficulty today.
I think it's global warming.
Huh?
Global warming.
It's global warming, Dr. Tidman said. So we're going to go straight into our Ask the Doc segment, and we have Dr. Raymond Tidman with us today. Dr. Tidman, how are you?
Very good. Very good.
You know, there's only so many times that you can get the same punch out of a joke twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen discos that wouldn't let you in with that shirt.
Well,
I'm sorry.
As long as I'm not causing any seizures this morning, I'm all right.
Well, we wanted to make sure. That's how
it's a test screen. That's what you've had up
yes,
for the last.
Lonnie's been adjusting the cameras. How are you, sir?
Good, good.
You enjoying this warm weather?
I love this spring weather.
I do. I like sitting out on a porch. And, you know, I hope we're getting what I call some garden rain. You know?
Yes, yes.
People start putting their gardens out. We're going to get straight into our questions. We want to thank the Georgia Cancer Specialist affiliated with Northside Hospital for this segment. You will have to pronounce the word again because I can't handle this one. My doctor, let's be more respectful out there. My doctor said I may have
myositis.
Myositis. What does that mean?
It's a mouthful, isn't it? So myo is Latin for muscle, and situs is Latin for inflammation or inflamed muscles. It's a fairly generic statement because there are a lot of things that could cause myositis. And without knowing further history of what's going on with the patient, I would just infer that the doctor's saying that there's something wrong with her muscles.
So is that something to do with muscles, myositis?
Yes. Yeah.
And how many different things could be causes, or could be different things that could, like maybe what are some of the signs that you may want to go check that this could be myositis? Or
well, one of the more common ones would be an autoimmune disorder. There's polymyositis rheumatica, which is a generalized muscle achiness, diffuse fatigue. There are injuries or specific things that go on in a muscle group. These would be serious complaints, and I'm sure that to get that word used on her, she's under a pretty intense investigation.
Okay, all right. I recently had a visit to the ER with a fever and was told it could be viral. What's the difference between viral and bacterial infections?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, let's go with fever first. Bacteria and viruses, bacteria in particular, live in a very narrow temperature range. You get them too cold, they die. You get them too hot, they die. So one of the body's defense mechanism, and similarly with viruses, is to run the temperature up a couple of degrees and either kill the bacteria and virus or make it slow down its growth. And so the fever is actually the body's defense mechanism. It's the body trying to respond to the infection, not the infection hurting the body. And to that end, you know, a little bit of fever is not a bad thing. Now, if your fever is so high that you're miserable, or you start spiking a fever, a child gets a fever so high they're having seizures, that's obviously out of control. But fever in and of itself is not a bad thing. So there, you can't tell a fever, virus-induced from bacterial-induced at all. It doesn't give you any distinction. They're both immune reactions.
Both immune reactions. Okay. Can having a common cold, allergies, issues elevate my blood pressure?
Generally, we don't put those two together. First of all, just do the time course. A cold or viral infection is generally a very time-limited event. You know, a few days, week. High blood pressure, hypertension, the one that we really care about, is going on for weeks, months, and years. And it's that duration of the elevated blood pressure that really matters. So, for instance, if you get excited or revved up or something like that, you can spike your blood pressure up. If you get anxious or upset, you can run your blood pressure up. So there are many reasons that your blood pressure can go up for a short period of time, which is a normal physiological function. So if your blood pressure did go up from a cold or an infection, it's not anything to worry about.
That's just something that now your blood pressure can go up with infection.
Yeah.
It'll
and it can go down, and the more deadly thing is for it to go down. That's generally a sign of sepsis, where your body's being overwhelmed by an infection, and the heart and vascular system's having trouble keeping the pressures up. So we don't worry so much about a pressure going up a bit in an infection situation. We do worry when it goes down.
Well, I know we didn't send this question to you, but I want to see if you could help enlighten us on some of the medical examinations that they will go through. We had 3 Korean American hostages released this past week. They came home Wednesday morning, or Thursday morning actually, 3 a.m. And now they're going to start through medical examinations and mental, medical, so many different things. What kind of things will they go through to check their health?
So let's kind of break it up. Your question goes into that realm. I mean, first of all, psychological stress and damage. How did they cope with their imprisonment? How isolated were they? What kind of threats or worst of all, torture did they undergo? Trying to just sort of get into the beginnings of that and sort of laying out a treatment plan are very important, and probably topmost for their long-term care. Certainly the thought of being held captive or imprisoned in a foreign land with no sense of justice and no sense of due process and no knowledge of when you'll ever get free has got to be psychologically very damaging. On the physical side, what were their conditions? Were they malnourished? Were they kept in cold or conditions that were hard on the body? Were they kept immobile? Were they able to exercise or keep their physiological functioning going on? Were they dehydrated? I mean, there are all kinds of ways to injure the body when you're in prison. So all that rapid movement of going through testing to see if their liver or their kidneys have been injured, and lungs, muscles, skeleton. It's a lot of testing they'll go through.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's change subjects. I appreciate you coming on and answering our questions of the week. A lot of people don't stop to think. Actually, since President Trump has taken office, 15 Americans worldwide have been released, not just these 3. There's a total of 15 worldwide that's been released. And even sadly, Otto Warmbier was alive when he was released.
Yeah.
I mean, what say you with these recent? Would you like to comment before you leave today? Because I'm just wanting to check anybody that'll talk to me. What say you with the way things are progressing between our country and North Korea and what is taking place?
Well, I mean, I'm very pleased at the progress and at the things that are changing. I mean, I think it basically speaks to a psychological fact. You don't deal with bullies by being weak. They don't respond to that. You have to be strong and hard, and that's just the reality of life. So I'm pleased that the leadership in our country right now is taking a strong hand with bullies to the extent they exist in the world and letting them know that's not going to be tolerated.
I thought, and I'm going to talk more about this with Rick when we get into my next segment, but I thought yesterday was an opportunity, was a unifying moment for the country, and once again, the media used it as a divider once again.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a perfect time to have a unifying moment, no matter who you are, what you believe, and no matter where you're at in life. I thought yesterday was a unifying moment, and And we already had news reports yesterday, some newscasters saying, well, the president used it as a photo op. Well, it should have been a photo op for this whole country to see, to be proud of. I don't know. That's just what I think.
Well, I think you're hitting on a real raw spot for me, because it's my personal opinion that the media now it's all about getting people stirred up. It's all about getting eyeballs, looking at them. They really don't care about news anymore. They have an agenda, or they have a hidden agenda of just trying to get people to look at them. And so there seems to be very little truth in the news media, the mass media. It's all about just keeping people upset, and that's not good for our country.
Well, I appreciate it. Anything in the men's health or medical world out there you'd like to share with us today? Because I know you usually have some things that you like to discuss.
Nothing breaking news, but my proverbial thing is, guys, listen to your wives. They know a lot about healthcare, and they can get you in the right place at the right time. So.
No, any humor today, or did you?
This is maybe a little bit out on the edge, but I did have one of my fellows did share a joke with me yesterday.
Let's go with the edge. We'll start with the edge.
So this fella, he comes home a bit late Saturday afternoon, and his wife says, "Where have you been?" And he says, "Well, honey, we had that business meeting this morning, and everything went really well. And we went to this bar to celebrate, and there was this lady across the bar, and she started making eyes at me, and we started talking, and one thing led to another, and she invited me up to her room, and we made passionate love for the last 3 hours." His wife said, "No way, you played 36 holes of golf." All right. That's for the golfers out there.
So they went in and said, "Who wants to go another 18? What am I going to tell my wife?"
What am I going to tell my wife?
Oh my God! Thank you, Dr. Tidman. We appreciate Dr. Tidman coming in, and we wish Dr. Whaley safe travels with his family as they're traveling. And again, thank you very much, Dr. Tidman. This segment is brought to you by Georgia Cancer Specialists, affiliated with Northside Hospital. We're going to come back. We appreciate it. We're sorry about the little technical time lapse there this morning, getting things going. But as soon as we get back, Rick and I are going to get right into politics and what's going on this week. It's not like we don't have anything to talk about. And wait a minute, I want you to come back, because I want to tell you, I was going to open up with this. I want to tell you what really happened at Fannin County Board of Education last night, and not what the news in Atlanta is telling you about. No, your teachers are not showing up with guns this morning in school. I'll have that right after these messages. Thank you, Dr. Tidman.
Thank you.